and they have all these arguments, but they don't get it. The SEC doesn't follow the law. They're not in there to adjudicate what's right and what's wrong. They're there to protect the cartel of Wall Street. And the cartel of Wall Street, they cannot stop Bitcoin. Gary Gensler has said as much. It's unstoppable. They would love to stop it if they could, but they can't because it's perfectly decentralized in a way that nobody can attack.
Hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Max Keiser discuss about crypto. According to Max Keiser, the SEC doesn't follow the rules because that's not their job. Figure out what's right and wrong. They're there to keep Wall Street and Wall safe. There is no way for them to stop Bitcoin. Gary Gensler has said the same thing. It's unstoppable. It's so decentralized that no one can attack it, which isn't possible with Ripple. They'd love to stop it if they could, but they can't highly attackable, and they are and will continue to attack it. They want to attack it until it goes away, but it's not going to work. As you can see in the how prices move, the way prices are moving is awful, as you say. All of these shitcoins burn out against Bitcoin in the end. They get a pop. A nice little pop, and everyone acts like they believe it. They make some money on that pop, but in the end they lose money on that pop. It's the same way of thinking as people in Las Vegas who are hooked on gaming are called gamble addicts. These are people who trade and deal coins. I set up something called Shitcoin is Anonymous, where people who are addicted to shitcoin can go to get better. And lots of things Max Keiser discuss, so please watch the video to end and share this video, and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance. Thanks.
Kanye, there was Kanye coin.
Right.
There was Bill Murray coin. And because I think this was 2013 or 2014, when shitcoins were a real novelty and the danger of them was not as obvious as it started to become. And what started to become more obvious as you went into the 2016 period, 2017 period, and what were called the ICOs, the initial coin offerings. And so as a stockbroker, former stockbroker myself, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. These are actual securities. When you do a pre-sale of an ICO, and then with the expectation of people then having an additional subsequent sale and profiting from that sale, you have an expectation of profiting from the issuance of what isn't therefore an unregistered security. And having worked on Wall Street and under the legal auspices of the SEC for many years and having a broker's license and studying, the Securities Act of 33 and 34 and looking at case studies of what happens to people who go against the SEC. The SEC never loses. They have all the time in the world. They have all the money in the world. And anyway, so this is when I started to sound the alarm on shitcoins and became more of a maximalist, because it's like, okay, it was a fun dish. It was a fun time initially, but now it's, this is going to come back to bite everybody in the ass, because these are unregistered securities, and I know the SEC well enough. And I was at an event called Satoshi Roundtable at the time, which was in Cancun, Mexico. It's a pretty well-known event with a lot of well-known people in the business, and they were trying to say that we know better than the SEC. The SEC is behind the times. The SEC needs to change the law. The SEC is not as smart as we are. I'm like, no, you don't get it. The SEC will shut all these down, and a lot of you are going to go to jail. So Kwon Do or Do Kwon and others, famous people, eventually ended up going to jail, doing shitcoinery because they got addicted to this idea that they're bigger and better than the SEC. But the SEC is now winning. And I'll say with XRP Ripple, this is another project that's going to end up going to zero because the SEC doesn't want it to exist. And you read the trolls on Twitter about, oh no, we have all these lawyers and we're taking the SEC to court, and they have all these arguments, but they don't get it. The SEC doesn't follow the law. They're not in there to adjudicate what's right and what's wrong. They're there to protect the cartel of Wall Street. And the cartel of Wall Street, they cannot stop Bitcoin.
Max Keiser believed it was 2013 or 2014. It was a while ago when shitcoins were brand new and not as dangerous. what started to become more clear, and how clear it was to begin with as you moved into 2016, 2017, and what we called ICOs, initial coin offers. Do you remember how stocks worked? Keiser used to be a stockbroker herself. He was like, wait a minute, hold on to these. Are real securities, for example. When you pre-sell an ICO, you expect to get shares in the company, people making another sale after that, and making money from that sale. You expect to make money from putting out what isn't an unregulated security, and having worked on Wall Street, and under having worked as a lawyer for the SEC for many years and having a broker's license, you should study the Securities Act of 1933 and 1934 and look for people who go against the SEC are shown in case studies there is never a loss for the SEC. They have all the time and money in the world. Let's back to the Max Keiser interview.
Gary Gensler has said as much. It's unstoppable. It's they would love to stop it if they could, but they can't because it's perfectly decentralized in a way that nobody can attack. Whereas Ripple is not. Ripple is highly attackable, right? And they're attacking it. And they will continue to attack it until it goes away because that's their agenda and that's their objective. And it's not going to work. And you see it in the price action. The price action is terrible. All these shit coins go to zero against Bitcoin. Eventually, as you say, they get a pop, they get a nice, little pop, and everyone pretends like they made some money on that pop. They end up losing money on that pop. I mean, it's exactly the same mentality as Las Vegas of people who are addicted to gambling. These are gambleaholics, people who trade in shitcoinery. I started a thing called Shitcoiners Anonymous, where people can go to recover from their shitcoin addiction. And this guy, BitBoy, who's a guy who is a poster child for shitcoin-aholicism. Like he lost his car, he lost his wife, he lost his house, he lost all of his money because he's addicted to shitcoin like an alcoholic or a drug addict. He cannot stop shitcoining, and he's losing it all. It's going all the way down to the bottom. And he should go to Shitcoins Anonymous and beg forgiveness from Satoshi and accept Satoshi as his like God or something to get himself out of this mentality of shitcoining. And everybody in that space is essentially like a gambler in Las Vegas. And the way that gambling works in Las Vegas is that the emotional high from losing is a bigger dopamine kick than winning.
Oh yeah. They're addicts.
People are addicted to losing.
The addicts want to go belly up. They want to lose it all and be sitting in the casino going, "Oh God, I lost it all."
Yeah, and it's, I'm a victim.
Yep.
Feel sorry for me, and also the emotional buzz from losing. Again, the dopamine, the stress, the high, whatever, comes from losing. It doesn't come from winning. Most people who trade in the stock market have a similar phenomenon. If you trade in the stock market, if your stock's up, you feel like, okay, good, I bought it to go up. It's up. I'm happy. If it's down, you're like, oh no, what do I do? I'm panicking. You get all emotionally fritzed out, and you end up selling. It's your emotions are what kill you in all of these situations that involve risk taking with shitcoins. And also, the thing about it is that they refuse to believe that these are unregistered securities, and it's illegal to promote unregistered securities. It's illegal to sell unregistered securities, but it's equally illegal to promote unregistered securities. So what BitBoy is doing is illegal under the SEC. That's why I believe he's got a lawsuit hanging over his head from some regulator because he's engaging in illegal activities. And he has something he says an astronomical monthly legal bill, which isn't going to get any better. And this is really the lesson that people learn over and over and over again. There's the wisdom is never passed on from one group to the next. Every single new group that comes along has to learn the exact same lessons all over again. All the way going back to Charles Ponzi to the present day, every 5 or 6 years, there's a new group of suckers that get mowed down by the pros in some speculative market. And you see it in the stock market, of course, over and over again. You see the penny stock market. You see in the Canadian mining, Canadian miners, gold and silver miners are notorious for starting companies based on two guys standing around a hole in the ground saying they just discovered 1 million ounces of silver, and then they go public and they cash out and then they're gone and you never hear from them again. That goes on over and over and over again. So it's exactly the same thing with shitcoins. It's just like this is what we do at the Bitcoin office is to stop big shitcoiners from coming into El Salvador, because what they do is they end up taking a photo with somebody in the government. It could be like the guy whose job it is to wash the mining equipment or something for the government. Anybody, but they have like a government seal on their uniform. They could be like the trash collector in San Benito, but they're government employees maybe, and they have like a seal of the government. So some shitcoiner stands with them and says, the government loves this shitcoin. And there's a guy smiling with a broom, that guy who's making all the noise. You could be just smiling and just like, ha, 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 ha. And so they put that on the internet, and then suddenly something that's worth nothing, it's worth 0.0000001 is now worth 0.0001. The people dump it, cash out, and then they just go to the next ridiculous shitcoin.
Really? Max Keiser feel the same way about shitcoins. It's the same thing we do at the Stop B shitcoiners, from coming to El Salvador by making a Bitcoin office if they do. They'll end up getting a picture with a government worker. It might be like the guy whose job it is to wash the mining tools or do something for the government or anyone else. As long as they have a government seal on their clothing, they could be like the trash guy in San Benito. But they might work for the government and have a government seal on them, so some shitcoin stands with them. If you learned something from this video, then please like this video and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance, and we will meet in next video. Thanks.